Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I want you to start by picturing something for a second. Imagine you take two photos of the exact same person, standing in the exact same location, the lighting is completely identical, and you haven't changed your camera settings at all. Yet when you look at them, one photo feels totally ordinary, while the other instantly captures your attention and just pulls you right in. Why is that? Well, the secret is composition. In filmmaking and photography, where you choose to place your subject inside the frame can absolutely transform the story you're telling. So why do some shots feel incredibly cinematic while others just kind of feel flat and amateur? Honestly, it all comes down to intention. A lot of people think cinematography is purely about having fancy camera movements or dropping thousands of dollars on expensive lighting gear. But before that camera even moves a single inch, you have to make a conscious decision about what actually belongs inside the frame. It's really the silent language of the image. Okay, let's dive into this. We're going on a quick masterclass journey today, moving from accidental pointing and shooting to intentional frame design. We'll be looking at the power of composition, the rule of thirds, directing viewer attention, mastering visual space, and finally, avoiding beginner mistakes. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the power of composition. This right here is where we establish our visual foundation. The absolute golden rule you need to remember is that everything visible in your frame matters to the narrative. Every single object, every shadow, every line, they are all potential storytelling tools. See, composition isn't just about making things look pretty. It's defined as the art of arranging people, objects, and space to guide your audience's attention. A good composition instantly tells your viewer three vital things: what is important, where they need to look, and how they should feel. Once you truly grasp this, you literally stop just pointing a camera and you start designing an image. And this sets off a really cool direct chain reaction. Step 1, you establish your composition. By intentionally arranging the elements in your frame, you trigger Step 2, which is capturing and directing the audience's attention exactly where you want it. It's like you're taking them by the hand and showing them what matters. And once you have complete control over their attention, you achieve Step 3, which is telling a clear, compelling story. You strip away the visual confusion and replace it with pure narrative focus. All right, moving right along to Section 2, the rule of thirds. Now, this is arguably the most famous and practical tool in our entire visual toolkit. And the best part, it's something you can apply to your very next shot to instantly see a difference. I want you to vividly imagine your camera frame right now. Got it? Okay. Visualize dividing that frame into exactly 9 equal rectangles. You do this by drawing 2 imaginary horizontal lines evenly spaced across the screen and 2 vertical lines intersecting them. You're basically creating a grid right over the world, slicing your canvas into equal parts. Now, those intersecting lines create something very special. We call them power points. These are the 4 intersections on that rule of thirds grid. Look, I know it is incredibly tempting to always put your subject at center, like they're a target on a dartboard, but shifting them away from the center to one of these PowerPoints almost always creates a more balanced, visually interesting composition. It gives the image this natural energy. It makes the frame feel alive, creating a dynamic tension that draws the eye way more effectively than just perfect, predictable centering. Which brings us to Section 3, directing viewer attention. Now that we've got the invisible grid down, we need to look outward into the physical environment to control where the audience looks. Think about leading lines: roads, rivers, railway tracks, fences, hallways, mountain paths. Imagine a long, winding road disappearing into the distance, and there's a lone figure walking down it. Those lines in the environment naturally pull the viewer's eye straight toward the subject. You are literally pointing your audience to the most important part of the frame without saying a single word. It's exactly like a visual funnel, guiding the viewer exactly where they need to go. Similarly, think about using natural frames. Imagine placing your subject inside a doorway, a window, or underneath a bridge, an archway, or even a canopy of low-hanging tree branches. By putting a physical frame inside your camera's frame, you instantly create gorgeous depth, and you hyper-focus the audience's attention right where it belongs. It works wonderfully because it creates this cool frame-within-a-frame effect. It inherently isolates the subject, telling the viewer, hey, whatever is trapped inside this inner boundary, that is the absolutely crucial part of the scene. Okay, let's step it up a notch with Section 4, mastering visual space. We're moving from physical objects to slightly more advanced psychological concepts now, and this brilliantly illustrates how we can use the contrast of space. On the left side, we have symmetry. Perfectly centered, symmetrical shots create a really profound sense of balance, order, and control. It's incredibly effective when you want to show off striking architecture or do a dramatic, powerful character reveal. But look over at the right side, negative space. This is the empty area surrounding your subject. When you leave vast open space around a small subject, it evokes deep, specific emotions. We're talking loneliness, freedom, isolation, or reflection. Sometimes what you intentionally leave out of the frame speaks a whole lot louder than what you include. That vast emptiness basically becomes a character itself. Now, when you're specifically filming people, you have to master the mechanical rules of spacing. First up is headroom, which is exactly what it sounds like, the space above your subject's head. If you leave too much headroom, your subject looks small and insignificant, kind of sinking toward the bottom edge. But if you leave too little, the frame feels totally cramped and cuts off their forehead. Then there's look room, which is sometimes called lead room. This is the space in front of where your subject is looking or moving. If they're looking off to the left edge of the frame, you need to leave empty space on that left side. Without it, the composition feels incredibly unnatural and claustrophobic. It's like they're staring right into a brick wall. Giving them space to look into restores harmony to the whole shot.
Let's wrap things up with Section 5, Avoiding Beginner Mistakes.
Let's bring all these concepts together with a practical reality check on the common traps that beginners fall into. Picture a traveler standing on a beautiful mountain road. In version A, our amateur approach, the subject is just plopped right in the dead center. The background is super busy and distracting. Maybe there's a telephone pole sticking right out from behind their head, and the headroom is completely off. It's visually confusing because there's zero hierarchy. Now contrast that with version B. The subject is placed neatly on the left third of the grid. That winding mountain road acts as a leading line pointing right to them. The mountains create depth, the background is clean, and there's beautifully balanced look room right in front of them. The viewer knows exactly where to look. So, how do you get from that amateur version A to the cinematic version B? You need to run a mental checklist. Every single time, right before hitting record, you should scan every single corner of your viewfinder and ask yourself one vital question. Does everything I see help tell the story? If there's a distracting element in the background, you have to move the camera. If the framing doesn't add to the emotion, you adjust it. If some random object pulls the eye away from your main character, you reframe or you remove it entirely. This single question is literally your greatest filter for quality. So, the crucial point here really boils down to this. Professional cinematographers don't simply record what's in front of the camera, they organize it. Great composition isn't about perfectly following a rigid set of rules just for the sake of it. No way. It is an active, intentional choice to organize the visual chaos of the real world so your audience understands the story instantly without needing a single word of explanation. You are the architect of the frame. Which leaves us with this final, provocative question to ponder. Before you record your next scene, what will you leave out to make the story stronger? I want to challenge you to apply these tools immediately. Frame with purpose. Thank you so much for joining this explainer on composition. In our next explainer, we're going to build on this exact foundation by exploring shot sizes. We'll discover how choosing between a wide shot, a medium shot, and an extreme close-up completely shifts the emotional impact of a scene. But until then, keep looking at the world through that cinematic grid.